Are these the world's loneliest houses? Let's see. La Casa del Desierto, the desert house, built in 2019 and located far from prying eyes in the exceedingly remote Garraf Desert in Spain's Andalusia region. The Buffa di Perero shelter on Monte Cristallo, located in Italy. Accessible only by rope ladders, cable carts, or a ridiculously perilous mountain trail, the property was built in 1915 during World War I by members of the Italian Army Specialist Mountain Infantry as a place to rest, store supplies, and take shelter during the fighting. It's likely the barracks doubled up as a lookout and a place to stage attacks. In 1972, long after the conflict had ended, the barracks were restored and converted into a shelter for mountaineers. The Lighthouse Cabin in Lyngstova, Norway. Located a stone's throw from the Lyngstova Lighthouse in the extreme north of Norway, well within the Arctic Circle, this adorable off-grid tiny house has been called the most remote cabin in the Nordic nation. The dinky hut was built in 1922 reportedly as a shelter for the lighthouse keeper. The Dina River House in Bajina Basta, Serbia. Perched precariously on a rock in the narrows of the Dina River on the western border of Serbia and Bosnia and Herzegovina, the first incarnation of the house was built by a young group of swimmers in the summer of 1968. The Dina has claimed 6 incarnations of the shelter, but as each one was destroyed, a new, more robust structure was constructed in its place. This weird and wonderful tiny abode was little known to the outside world until National Geographic featured it as its photo of the day on August 2, 2012. The former railway workers' cottage in Ribblehead, England. Found above Ribblehead, in the wilds of the Yorkshire Dales, 3 Bleemore Cottages is among the other contenders for the loneliest and least accessible house in England. Located beside the Settle to Carlisle line. Not far from the banks of the River Dee, the house was one of 3 railway workers' cottages constructed in the 1940s by the London, Midland and Scottish Railway. The other 2 properties were demolished years ago, leaving the cottage all alone on the windswept moor. The property is reached only by foot or 4x4, though a quad bike could also get you there. The nearest parking spot is located a good 20-minute walk from the home. It's also completely off-grid, with no mains gas, electricity, or sewage. The Lagangarb Hut in Glencoe, Scotland. Deep in the Highlands of Scotland on the edge of Glencoe National Nature Reserve sits a wee white house, all alone amid the breathtaking stark beauty of the windward side of the nearby mountain Boichael Edv Moor, which lies just to the north. A former crofter's cottage, the Lagangarb Hut is owned by the National Trust for Scotland and has been occupied and maintained by the Scottish Mountaineering Club since 1946. The Kochki Pillar Hermit Cottage in Chiatura, Georgia. Nestled in the western Georgian region of Imereti, the Kachki Pillar is a sacred natural limestone monolith on top of which stands a church dedicated to Maximus the Confessor, as well as a crypt, wine cellar, and cottage. That cottage is one of the loneliest on the planet, and houses 3 hermit cells. The precarious spot's last resident was devout monk Father Maxime Kovtoradze, who lived in solitude there for 2 decades. The Woodframe Cottage on Duck Ledges Island, USA. The Darling Cottage sits on a private islet. The Pine Tree State has more than its fair share of wilderness areas where you can lose yourself in nature, with literally nobody else around. Cue this bijou private island in Woho Bay off the coast of Addison. The White House on Ellië Island, Iceland. The world's loneliest house isn't actually a home in the traditional sense. Rather, it's a lodge that was built in the 1950s by an organization called the Ellië Hunting Association, as a base for puffin hunting. During his visit there in 2021, Trahan braved the rough Atlantic seas and a treacherous climb up the island's cliff face to spend a night in the lonely lodge as a guest of an intrepid local called Bjarni, who appears to frequent the property. For more interesting content, like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel.